Hopefully it goes this time. Good grief. Okay, and we're back. Good grief. We had a router drop, so the curse of the router there, everyone. So welcome to Codecast episode 2, part 2. And I guess I should change the little description here. Router drop. Okay. All right, we'll get that going. Good, okay. And so, yeah, watch that little first part for DeathKiller's intro. And now that Pseudo's here, that's what happened. The router dropped to make room for Pseudo coming in. So, sorry about that, everyone. We'll be here. We're good to go, and we're ready to go. So, okay. What we're gonna be talking... Go ahead.
Oh, there's no entrance quite like a chaotic one.
Oh, man, it just... No, there's no entrance like that, and it's okay sometimes, but it frustrates me to no end just because of the fact that it's like I want to be prepared and then I'm not prepared because some technical difficulty like that, and it's like, ugh. So anyways, we're here and everything is going and we're good to go. Okay, so we are talking bosses today. If you didn't see from the description there, we're talking bosses, tactics, impressions, and strategies that we've come across through our time in Vane. And so we've got our co-host, PseudoDrifter. So his channel's in the description. I'm sure most of you know him, but if you don't and you're new here, make sure you head on over and watch all of his challenge videos. Challenge runs for Code Vein. He does some wacky ones, he does some fun ones, he does some off-the-wall ones, and he does some outright bizarre ones. So very, very entertaining there. And DeathKiller is our resident Yoimiya expert. So thank you both for joining us for round 2 here of episode 2.
Happy to be here. Happy to be here.
Excellent.
Happy
Okay.
to be here as well.
Great. I'm glad you both can be here because without you guys, it would just be me talking by myself. So we get enough of that on the road to 100 and everything. So it's good to have you guys. So Oliver Collins, he's the first boss, obviously, actually, that you come across in Vane is the character creator. And how did you guys handle that?
The first boss is the character creator?
Yeah.
I cheated. I loaded my character from the demo.
Oh, really?
That's how I did it.
I think I spent like 2.5-3 hours on my first character. And it came out nothing...
the character creator was a boss for all of us.
Say it again, sorry.
I said, I'm sure the character creator was a boss for all of us.
Yes, that's true.
Oh yeah, we've spent hours in it. Oh, definitely.
Maybe soon more so.
Oh, are you kidding me? That's one of the most popular types of Reddit threads in the subreddit is character creator ones, and it's still going strong after all these years. All these
I'm
2
assuming
years.
you're active in there, aren't you?
I frequent it. I'm by no means moderator material, but I do frequent it from time to time.
I've never been over there. That's one of the few things
I'm the liaison.
I've stepped away from is Reddit, and that's something I just haven't been over to ever really read much over there, except things that you send me, Pseudo, and then it's like, oh, that might be interesting because you sent it to me, so I do read them.
Yeah.
I do read them. So thank you for that. Yeah, my first character was definitely not anything to write home about, and it's so weird because I spent so much time looking at all the options, and then when it came down to it, I was like, I just need something simple and just to get going with the game instead of spending years there. But yeah, that was my first boss.
We can all agree on one thing: silver ponytail, best hairstyle. We like it's not even that's the easiest shortcut for the character creator.
Is it?
That's a little bit biased, don't you think?
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't that like something we probably won't agree on? Because I go for more the angel.
Yeah, that was the joke. Well, you can cheat. You've got fancy pants PC magic where you can have actual wings. Us console plebs are stuck with little bitty cherub wings that couldn't hold aloft a bumblebee.
Yeah, I tried to
So
actually
I
put
am
those tiny little
envious.
pin wings on the back. Red Army did that, and it looks kind of hilarious. I mean, because I wanted bigger wings like the ones I found actually, and I was so happy I did just because of that fact that I wanted wings, and it was great. And so yeah, sorry consoles. It's a sad day for you guys for sure. But
It's a terrible day for Rain.
very true, very true. Okay, so let's get into it here with Oliver Collins, as he's the first boss in the underground that you come across. And as a move set, how did you guys feel that he was that he was positioned with his move set, the damage he does, and how he interacts as a first boss? Did you think he was balanced? He was good? He was too ridiculous? He was pretty easy? How did you guys feel about that?
Well, he's not too bad. He does deal a healthy amount of damage, more damage than basically anything else you'd encounter in the underground tutorial area. So having the expectation that bosses are gonna bash your face in is a pretty good expectation to set early on. Now, that said, I don't believe he's too obnoxiously difficult. He's got simple patterns, and you're going to be fighting enemies like him for pretty much the entire way. Not human Oliver, but overweight Oliver.
Chunky Oliver. Thick boy.
Yeah, I agree with Suda there. I did not particularly find him unique in any aspect. Yeah, it was the first, uh, you know, enemy that you encounter that's more on the large scale, but that quickly dumbs down because you see them for the rest of the game. He wasn't by no means hard, not really obnoxious. I found him pretty easy, maybe be different for different people,
Mm.
but he was pretty telegraphic. Granted, I did see some videos before I started my playthrough of it, so I kind of got that visual learning before I got into the actual fight. But for the most part, he was alright. He was a decent introduction, and then he was a good segue into the vestiges, I believe, right?
Yeah, he's the first
Yeah.
vestige you find, or forced to find. Yeah, I wish I had better records, like memory of my first run. All I remember is watching Fightin' Cowboy and then playing myself. And I felt like when I got to Oliver, I was like, oh, it's a bigger enemy than the other ones we fought. I didn't really understand this whole idea of an area and then a boss, because this was the first Souls type that I had ever played. And so that idea of you have an area, you play through it, and then you encounter a boss kind of at the end. That wasn't something that was like drilled into my skull. So for me, it was just like, oh, here's this bigger boss. He's got a lot more health than the other guys, but there's really nothing special about it. And I think that's kind of how to describe Oliver. Is he's just a guy. He's there, and there's nothing really special about him. The transformation does catch you off guard. I watched a lot of people's like reactions to the first boss of Code Vein, and every single one of them, they're like, "Oh, he's transforming. What's he doing? Oh, he's stopping. What's happening?" I think the transformation is the most unique thing about him, and yeah, it's not really any kind of crazy fight that you actually get into, but it's nice that they do give you a lot of the tools to deal with him. When you guys ran through, did you just go for like the Queenslayer blade, or did you go for some other kind of approach, using maybe the heavy axe or the pipe even on your first, on maybe not your first run, but maybe a second run or something?
I certainly poisoned him.
Oh,
That
really?
was, yep, that was objective number one. You get poison early on, and it does good work on him as soon as he switches to phase two. All the fat enemies are quite weak to poison.
Yeah.
I can't say I did the same. Let's see. I played the demo right before I purchased the game, so I had some knowledge of the area. Not too much to really brag about, but the way I fought him, I didn't go for no special effects like Pseudo did, but I just used my trust and handy sword, and I cut the pounds off him until he was no more.
Yeah, I think I went for the heavy axe. Right?
Extreme weight loss.
You got to cut him down to size. He does disperse into
Okay,
tiny,
so let's talk...
tiny little bits, so he does get quite a bit of weight loss.
No.
No follow up on that one.
That's the dusty kind of gross sort of weight loss. That's a weight loss only vampires can come back from. But no, I wanted to talk more about resistances and stuff. Not very many people know, but he's actually weak versus Pierce. Strong versus Slash and pretty neutral against strong versus Crush and pretty neutral against Slash.
Yeah, all the speedrunning
those,
community, they know he's weak to Pierce because they grab the bayonet, the Lost Bayonet, and that's how they. That's how I've seen, at least. I mean, there's not a big speedrunning community for Code Vein, but yeah, definitely that community knows Pierce is the way. But I don't know if a lot of people know that. So yeah, that's good to bring up. And especially because
unless you're casual, like read it the
unless, right? Operative word there. And I think it's interesting that they do give you all the tools in the entire underground. They give you, the concrete block as a crush weapon. So basically it's like, you don't want to use this versus Oliver. They do give you a couple, like some bayonets and stuff. And then they give you a bunch of slashing weapons. They give you the heavy axe. They give you the Queenslayer blade. They give you all the, the Lost Bayonet, the Lost Bardiche. They give you a lot of stuff that's slashing. But they do give you all the tools that you need to actually rip into Oliver pretty good.
Yeah.
On the topic of weapons, I was curious, but what were y'all's favorite weapons or go-to for your first playthrough, or the rest?
Pseudo, you want to go
Still
first?
got to be Impaler. I love the Impaler. I love the Impaler so much. That one's a good one. Zweihander is also a good choice just because it's incredibly high damage and it's got 100% block. You get it like right at the beginning of the game. So that's definitely the noob tool of choice, but it's still a respectable tool all the same.
Yeah, I went for the Queenslayer Greatsword, the one you find in the kind of secret ledge that you drop off in the right before the first cutscene of the game. I put a stun transform on it, and that was my weapon of choice the entire first run of the game. I didn't switch weapons ever, and that was the only one I went for, and I don't even know why. It just seemed to, like, in my brand new to this kind of style, it seemed to do a heavy amount of damage with a really, really good, like, wide sweeping moveset. So I kind of had, like, mini AoE, and that was really, really, really useful for me to use. I didn't do any blocking, I did all dodging. Blocking never really sat well with me. So as soon as I got it, and because you get it, like, right at the beginning of the game, as soon as I got it, that was the only weapon I used for the entire rest of the game. But now that I'm on this side of it, like 1,400 hours later or whatever, the Thunderbolt is my weapon of choice. Like, there's nothing in the game that makes me a happier boy than using the Thunderbolt from DLC 3.
The good old lightning shotgun?
Dude, the thing is amazing. It's got longer range than the Riot Breaker. It's got Slash, Pierce, and Crush all built into the one weapon. It even gives you a 5% lightning increase to your damage. It's really quick moveset. I mean, it's got stagger built in because of crush damage on the shotguns. It's got kind of crowd control too because it goes through all the enemies and staggers multiple enemies at once. Costs 1 I core to shoot the thing. I mean, it's crazy.
I need to start using it more often then. But we're starting to get a little off track here.
We're definitely not talking about bosses anymore.
Right, with It's thanks, DeathKiller. Well, with Oliver, the only thing you really have to be careful of in phase 1 is his delayed follow-up. Sometimes it'll look like he's done swinging, but he throws out another one. But those are pretty easy to adjust to. All you got to do is just step back and wait for him to actually reset to his resting animation.
Yeah, and always assume there's
phase 2
two
on the other hand.
attacks. Because always assume there's a follow-up, because if you don't, that's when you'll get hit. But as soon as you move after the second attack or the follow-up, man, you are wide open, and you can start wailing on him, because then he'll do a reset to his stand. Yep, that's a good observation.
But yeah, so phase 2, it's pretty much more of the same story. Keep an eye out for the blood explosion. That one can be iframed if you're bold, but you usually have enough time to just back off if you're not just mashing the attack button right in his face. Always be careful of the third final swing of the overhead combo he does, because it's got insane tracking
and a very long delay.
He can whip it right around. I believe somebody called it the Oliver twist.
Oh, that's such a clever name.
Oh yeah. But
you sure it wasn't you, Pseudo, that
the last
called
thing you
it
gotta
that?
look out for. No, I'm not that clever. I wish I was. but the only thing you'll really have to look out for in phase 2 is sometimes he'll do a quick horizontal smash with some of the other horizontal swings. But yeah, basically that's all you really got to look out for.
Yeah, the 10x challenge.
Plenty of opportunities to heal.
The 10x challenge gave me a healthy respect for his combo attack strings. But fortunately, I don't have to deal with that anymore.
I think it was during the 10x when somebody called it the Oliver twist.
Oh, really? I missed that. I was paying attention a little bit in the what I was getting killed by.
Yeah.
But yeah, Oliver's a good introduction to Vayne, because he's definitely harder than most of the enemies you fight in the underground. But he definitely doesn't have any really huge surprises. It's just wait for him to do a restand after he's done with a combo, and then start wailing away on him, and give him the respect that he deserves, because if you don't, I mean, he will destroy you. As far as defenses goes, his hammer is a crush hammer, and so the blue hounds that you find in the treasure chest right behind the opening door, that is the best for defense against him in the underground and your first playthrough. So grab that up and you'll have pretty good defenses overall. Anything
Respect Oliver. That's a good joke.
Respect him, yeah. And then you get Radiant Barrel and it's like, who cares?
Pretty much.
Alright, anything else you guys want to say about Oliver? Any clever, witty things?
Sorry, that's not with my pay grade.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm sure. Free. Anything is above that. But yeah, okay. So the next boss we have is the Butterfly of Delirium, and I don't know if it's the human part or the tail part, which is the actual brain of the boss, or the actual boss. I don't know which is the tail. You guys can say which is which. But the Butterfly is boss number 2 that we encounter in the parking deck, and it's kind of a hard skill check if you learn how to get through the game in a kind of relatively easy way. Then we encounter the Butterfly, and take it away, Pseudo.
Oh yeah, Butterfly is a huge roadblock for new players. I see a lot of people who struggle with Butterfly on their first time through the game. I mean, it kind of makes sense if we're going through them in the intended route. But yeah, Butterfly is very similar to Oliver. It's 2 phases. You can parry in both phases.
Yeah, you're the master of parry on her, definitely.
The trick is you only want to parry the chomp that comes from your left. The one that comes from your right is parryable, but my God, you got to be right in her face, and usually that's a bad idea.
I would agree with that
parry
statement.
The parry from the left hand side, actually she reaches pretty far out, so you can parry then dash in and get a couple of hits. But yeah, more importantly is her incredible weakness to fire. You don't get very many fire gifts early on in the game, but anything besides Firestorm,
yeah, you have Firestorm
will work.
You have Blazing Roar and Flame Weapon. I think.
Nope, don't get Flame Weapon. Not until after her.
Oh, really? That shows you how much I pay
Flame
attention
Weapon
to
is the
new game.
No, because that's another thing that people are like. They look up how to kill Butterfly, and they're like, "How do I get Flame Weapon? I've got all the Prometheus vestiges. How do I get Flame Weapon?" You gotta kill Butterfly.
Ah.
Yeah, but lacking that, she is weak to slash. So you can just basically go in there with virtually any weapon and do fine.
So here's
Except
something I don't actually know how to understand. When she travels the cross arena swooshing attack where she's coming at you with the tail or whatever, how do you know if she's actually producing poison or not?
You assume she always will. The trick
that
I use is to unlock. No. Well, I mean, while she's charging at you, if there's a cloud of poison, then there will be a trail left behind her.
Well,
but I discovered just getting the hell out of the way.
But they both look the same.
But they do look exactly the same.
Yeah.
So what you do, this is my trick. This is the trick that I discovered that will keep you clear of the poison. You need to unlock and run to the right. And then when she gets close to you, you just dodge the direction you're running, and you'll be clear of the poison. The lock-on isn't going to drag you back into the poison trail, even if she leaves the poison trail, that is. So that's the trick that I've discovered. That's the way to make that really, really annoying snaking attack go much, 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 much easier.
Interesting.
But realistically speaking, all of the moves she has is dangerous.
I have a completely different
the 3-hit combo.
I have a completely different method on PC because I have the WASD for movement, and I dodge forward into her with W and then always to the left, which then turns into the right as she dodges as she goes past you, and typically I miss her. It's kind of a weird way to explain it because of the keyboard, but it definitely is kind of along the same lines, but it's very different just because of how the keyboard operates.
Well, if you have another person with you, even an AI partner, she may decide to go after a different person. So by unlocking, you're just always going to be clear of her. It's not going to whip around and drag you into the trail, which is something I struggled a lot with before I started just recognizing that she's about to do the charge and then unlocking.
Okay.
That would be my main advice. Yeah, but going back to all the other moves, there's a 3-hit combo. If it comes from the left, you should always expect the 3 hits. The attack coming from your right is always going to be 2. Well, okay, it's likely going to be 2. You need to expect the spin chomp in phase 2. And another very little known fact is you can actually burst the homing bubble with a well-timed spell.
And it has to be
you
a
can
pierce.
also
it has to
do
be a
it with
pierce
weapon
spell.
attacks.
It has to be pierce. It can't be anything
Really?
else. Yep. If you do a crush or something, it won't actually pop it. So that's why, today when you were doing the Tower of Trials 2, and by the way, if you guys didn't watch it, go watch Pseudo's gift only run.
It hurts. Don't watch it. It hurts.
No, please go watch it. Leave lots of likes. Please, lots of subs.
Check it out.
Hey, both of you, stop, knock it off. People will do as they please. Don't you dare try to pressure them.
They will do as they
No.
please, and the door is open for anyone to go sub to Pseudo's channel and watch his gifts only
Look,
run. So
back to butterfly. Back to butterfly
oh yeah,
already.
oh yeah,
Okay.
the butterfly. Sorry. Yeah. So if that's why when you were doing when you were using Ember Reversal, you were able to pop her bubbles as they were coming towards you. But when you did, I believe it was Blazing Roar, it went right through it, and the bubble kept coming at you. So you got to use Pierce gifts, which is weird. But that's how
Well, what
it's the
about
same thing for the.
what about the
Go ahead.
or the uncharged heavy on the assassin sickle? Is that technically a pierce attack? Because I remember during
The water that
ice
comes
only challenge.
up.
Yep. So I wanted to show off during the ice damage only challenge, and so I popped her bubble with the water splash.
I think that one is because on both the heavy attacks are pierce damage, and it does have a slash and pierce component. I think the blade is slash and the water splash is a pierce attack, but I'll be using Oliver as my testing dummy, and we'll get a definitive answer on that. So I will get back to you on that one, but I believe it is a pierce attack.
Righto. The other information is that her combo attacks, she can combo multiple attacks together. So if you get hit by one, it's likely you're going to get poisoned. So bring Poison Cure. You can jump into Howling Pit, touch the first checkpoint, run back to home base, and grab the blood code from Coco.
Yes.
And that has Poison Cure built in. So if you don't even have to buy Poison Cures, you can just jump down the hole in the ruined city center above ground and make your way to the Howling Pit, watch the infamous Onigiri cutscene, and then go back to home base. And there you go. You got Coco's blood code.
Do you think about your friend Pseudo every time you head to the Howling Pit?
I have to. I should have memorized that. I had it. I had it copied to my phone at one point, and I would occasionally read it. But it's called onigiri. It's a type of food that's easy to eat while you travel. Not that there's much point in eating as a revenant. That's about all I can remember. So many ellipses.
Yeah, the fact
So
that
many
you remember
ellipses.
that. So DeathKiller, what kind of experience did you have with the butterfly?
Needless to say, I did not like her. What
Oh
bit.
yeah.
I hated her. So I pulled the patented pseudo trick and I did not level up. So from the moment I start the game, I start the game to the moment I got to the butterfly, I forgot that leveling up was a component of a Souls-like game. So all that has, Haze, was completely gone by the time she killed me a few times.
Oh
And she
no.
killed me a lot of times.
You fool! You fell for the oldest trick in the book.
So all that level I could have had was not there anymore. I don't have any good tips and tricks for the butterfly. My
Don't get hit,
good
right?
advice is survive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty much. Her poison it wasn't bad, but like I did not like managing my poison debuff.
Yeah,
And
fortunately in the first
I didn't really
playthrough,
use a lot
it's
of
not as crippling as it is later on because it's like percentage based and your heals do most of your health bar at low levels and it actually gets worse later on.
Yeah, and I did not use a lot of buffs during my playthroughs. I would probably use a typical buff my damage for a set amount of time. But I did not go full caster like any of you two did. I just relied on my pure and trusty combat skills. And It took a while. It was probably the boss I died on the most,
Oh, really?
which is kind of sad. Yeah.
No, that's not sad at
I'm
all.
not too sure, but my first playthrough, I want to say I might have died to her more than any other boss.
Wow. Well,
Because
I
That
mean,
because
you gotta die to
like
somebody, so I
oh
mean, might as well be her.
yeah,
well,
I did first Yoimiya, so it's not a big deal.
oh, this guy over here, first try Mito. You know what? I was about to ask. Did you remember you could level up in subsequent bosses?
So yeah, after that, rodeo, I learned my lesson, and then I leveled up. But when I tell you I lost sleep over that, I did.
Yeah, I think one of the ways to not lose sleep over her and to not get hit is literally stamina management, to make sure that you always have enough to dodge or enough to parry, because as soon like it's okay if you get like one or two hits here and there and just kind of chip away at her, but if you don't have any stamina to dodge, I mean, you will die. I mean, it goes quick. Once she gets you in an out of cycle attack combo, oh man, and your dodges are off. The pain comes hard, and the butterfly is no joke. When she gets on a roll like that, you definitely want to be
Uh, She she
on
is
the
a big
move.
roadblock.
Yeah,
I didn't find my stamina management too hard. I believe that I had a fairly amount of stamina during the entirety of the fight. It was just the fact that I had to learn her move strings, and I had to rely on Louis for the most part with his fire and his resurrections. So
I think that is the biggest key is learning that sometimes she'll do three and sometimes she'll only do two. And whether or not the attack comes from your left or from your right determines that. And that's one thing I remember complaining about my first time fighting butterflies. I was like, "Oh my god, I can't read her moves. I can't read her moves. I don't know what a good opening is." And I just never took the patience to learn which chomp leads to a three-hit combo and which one only has a two-hit combo. So that I believe is the biggest thing.
yeah,
Butterfly
definitely.
was such. It was a bane of my playthrough. I did not like her. I still don't like her. Maybe if I went back and tried her again, I could
She
probably kill
she's
her
fun to
more
parry though.
efficiently.
She is fun to parry though. She's definitely fun to parry.
I
So
wasn't
if you
confident enough to parry.
take another crack at her, once you get parrying her down, it's a lot more fun.
Yeah, I think most people though, instead of Louis, they bring Yakumo, right? I mean, they realize that his big sword does most of the work for you, and then away you go with Yakumo, and forget Louis and his squishiness. You just bring the big tank boy, and you're good to go.
I stuck with Louis for a lot of my playthrough. I never went with Yakumo because I just did it.
Yeah, Yakumo's very good
I
in
was just
first
on Louis
playthrough,
more.
but Louis has his place. He definitely has his place. I like Louis as a character. I didn't enjoy him too much as a partner because he's got his own agenda.
I enjoyed him as a partner. His character is lackluster to me.
Oh really? We're
You
on
guys want to hear about my dark and tragic backstory?
I'm sorry, but he's just a token edgy dude.
he made some
Good
mistakes.
way of describing him. Nobody can know the pain I've suffered except all the other people who've become
But
revenants and lost their families.
it's such a cookie cutter character because as soon as I saw the hairstyle, I knew that he was going to be that
He,
edgy. You don't understand me. It's just a phase. I'm not like,
he's Edge Boy. He's an edgy boy.
But he is a
Okay,
good leader.
Instinctual Home Depot.
Anyways, yeah, the Home Depot.
he does want my blood a lot. I'm not sure why.
Oh really?
Oh, right. There's one more thing you
What?
need to be aware of. The enemies in the above ground. It's the first time you encounter enemies that can parry you. The white scarfed lost with shields will parry everything except for blade spells and melee skills. So you gotta attack them with either that, or if you do find the Ivy Blood Veil, you can attack them from long distance. But if you try to use the Drain attack right next to them, they'll parry it and stab you through the head.
There is a very small frame perfect dodge right. It's like a frame window that you have right before his lance comes down to slap you in the face. You can dodge out of it, so keep that in mind. Okay.
It's so tight though. The window is so tight.
It is. But you know, that's how it be. Okay, so the Home Depot, the Insatiable Despot. So this guy is in the
2 phases.
Trenches, the bloody trenches, the dried up trenches, whatever you want to call them. And he's the first boss where you start to really realize that a weakness to an enemy is in your best interest to know those. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, I did it.
No, I was just going to point out that there were 2 phases. He uses double daggers in the first phase and summons blood crystal pillars, whereas in phase 2 he uses a battle axe and has like this blood surf attack thing. Basically, just keep under his butt.
Just not in front, because then he has the two very quick hilt bashes that will instantly stagger and kill you. It is absolutely very, very difficult to dodge out of them, and if he hits you with the first one, he will hit you with the second one, and it's all over at that point. But yeah, like if you drew a line down the center of his body, stay towards the back half for sure.
Right, under his butt, behind his knees. If you are between his knees, you're going to have a bad time. You're going to get stabbed in the head by a dagger, or you're going to get hilt bashed into oblivion. I've died to him so many times. He's actually the litmus test that determines whether or not a challenge is going to be terrible. If I struggle with Insatiable Home, if I struggle with Insatiable Home Depot, then I know it's going to be one of those challenges. But if I'm able to kill him within the first 4 or 5 attempts, I know, this one maybe might not be so bad. This challenge is going to be relaxing. But yes, back to what you were talking about. Which element is he very weak against?
Absolutely blood. That's why I call it the bloody trenches, because blood is very, very, very good to him. And that way it reminds you that when you're going against him and his little minions, you just take all the blood things that you can possibly get. There's not a whole lot in the first playthrough that you get that's blood, but you do have Bloodshot, and I think that's about it at that point in the run where you get blood. Because then after that you get Darkseeker and you get Sanguine Roar, which would be excellent to have for the fight, but you can't get it until after the fight. So they do that on the first playthrough. Everything kind of is gated by their weakness, which is kind of interesting.
For the most part, at least. For the most part.
Yeah.
There are a few situations where they give you tools before you go through an area. But we'll talk about that later.
But yeah,
there's one part in particular I'm thinking of. But going to status resistances, good old Insatiable Home Depot is weak to inhibit. He's got moderate resistance to slow and poison, and he's very strong against stun. Which is
unfortunate, because you do get all of those chromes pretty early that you could bring with you on your weapons if you wanted to try it, but nobody really thinks about inhibit as a status debuff that's actually worth their time.
Nah, kinda not. Oh, Sonic Arrow. Sonic Arrow is physical.
Yeah, Sonic Arrow is a physical attack. Unfortunately, it has no element component to it. And so it's a pierce only damage gift, and it has a 0.45 multiplier for your dark value. So if your dark value is 1,000, you'll do 450 to a 0% pierce resist, and so you'd only hit him with 450 damage. So there's no blood component to it, unfortunately. But his crystals with his little minions, those are best to destroy before they actually pop into his little minions. And he can summon two at most during phase 1. If there are any left around in phase 2, that'll be the only set of group of enemies that you have to fight off. So that's kind of interesting that if you want to leave those two guys alive until phase 2, then you can kill them once you enter phase 2. It's kind of an interesting development there, however you want to go about it. But yeah, if you pop his crystals or you kill the little guys, then he'll summon more as in those giant pillars.
But he only really does that pillar attack if you like run away from him. So if you can just hide under his butt and heal instead of trying to run away and heal. Like I think it is a really bad idea to leave those guys alive. You need to get rid of those crystals pronto because you can very quickly be overwhelmed.
Oh yes. Oh yes. They are very aggressive, and they have very, very, very strong attacks. They are using the Lost Heavy Axe, though, so you can have blood resist, and you can mitigate all their damage by having a really high blood resist. But at that point in the game, you just don't have it on your first playthrough. But
right.
yeah, he's a pretty simple boss. There's not a lot happening with him. But he does have some very, very deadly attacks. Now, you can spread the field and make him force walk towards you at different times to make sure that you get good heal opportunities and stuff, and he will take his time to edge walk across the entire arena. Fortunately, it's a pretty big area, so you can get away from him. There is distance there, but if you get too far, then he'll do a lot of lunging attacks, so you should be able to dodge most of them.
Mm-hmm. You know, that's actually a good point. Whenever he's about to do his most dangerous attacks, either the dagger through the skull or the double hilt bash, he will reposition first. He'll just kind of like duck walk around in a circle to face you before he does it. So once you see him start to duck walk, you need to get under him or behind him or just get out of the way because you know something bad's going to happen. The only other thing that I can think of that we need to talk about is the shotgun lost. Those guys can be pretty dangerous.
Oh, they're horrible.
Oh, and the Cerberus Knight. Yeah, the Cerberus Knight that's guarding the regen booster. That early on in the game, he can be pretty deadly too.
Yeah,
it always scares me.
You don't really have any good tools to deal with him at that point, unless you go through the executioner first.
Right.
But whatever. He's a good place to farm. He has a pretty good drop rate on the Argent Wolf Blade. I think it was about a 20% drop rate with Revenant's Greed active, which is pretty good. And so if you're looking for that, you can definitely farm that out pretty quick.
Yeah, that was more than I was expecting, to be perfectly honest.
It was for me too. I didn't really know what to expect when I did farming on him, but it was actually a pretty good drop rate. It's more common than you would think it would be at that point in the game, but you do got to do a lot of runs.
Yeah. If you are going for his sword, I highly advise just running past everything and killing the guys that chase you down the ladder.
Yep.
And then suiciding off a cliff if you don't get it. And then just repeating the process over and over. You can use Vivifiers or the Vivification gift from Coco's Blood Code to
reset the area.
To, avoid it. Yeah, reset the area at less risk if you don't feel like you can make it back there safely.
Agreed.
With a whole bunch of guys chasing you.
DeathKiller, did you have problems with the despot, or was he a pretty simple boss for you?
Uh, I found Home Depot to be quite average.
Oh, really?
I don't remember dying too much, I would say, but I did find his design quite unique. I did like that about his boss.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
he definitely looks cool.
I definitely think he had some unique designs. See, I didn't find him too hard to fight. I did get smacked around a few times,
You're not alone.
especially in his phase 2 when he whips out the big giant axe out of whatever pocket space he got it from.
He pulls it from his chest.
Well, he just fuses the two daggers together with the power of malice, and he pulls the handle out of his chest.
It's pretty cool to actually watch him from the
It's just
front.
an easy opportunity.
Yeah,
But it's a really good opportunity to get Icor, so whoever watches him.
me. But
Oh,
other
if
than
you don't
that,
use buffs and gifts like I did, you don't need Icor.
that's true. That's true. You just slap away at him.
I kind of just
Yeah,
watched him do
yeah.
a little transformation magic girl.
Insatiable magic girl. No, not that.
Oh, you know,
God.
we gotta have all types, right?
Sailor Despot.
Oh my goodness. Uh,
Come on, Beta, when we get the anime adaptation.
who knows? Who knows?
Fighting vampires by moonlight.
So when you guys went through the game, did you
Alright.
actually switch up the order of the bosses, or did you go in the like story order of Oliver, Butterfly, Despot, Executioner, or did you do like Oliver and then Executioner and then Butterfly and Despot, or how did you guys go about it?
I don't think I
My-
paid attention to the story. I kind of just explored and see wherever it would take me. I think I went to Butterfly first, then Depot.
Oh, really? Yeah, my first
You know,
playthrough,
I
I
did
went
the
to the
opposite.
Executioner
Yeah.
first, and I was so confused about what was going on. I was like, what happened? I feel like I missed something.
No, I did that the first time and was somewhat aware that there was more areas to explore, but I wanted to jump down the hole in the ground and find out what was at the bottom.
Yeah, same.
And at the bottom is a whole bunch of blood codes and upgrade materials and a lot of really good stuff that makes Insatial Home Depot and Butterfly much, 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 much easier. Butterfly with a +4 weapon is a joke. Insatial Home Depot with the +4 weapon is a joke. So if you are having a lot of troubles with those guys, just go jump in the Howling Pit. Like, don't even bother fighting Invading Executioner. Just loot the place and then go back and give it another shot.
That is great advice.
Speaking of Slimy Stripper, though, she's next on the list.
Yeah, and
So we hit the dead end.
she definitely is one of those
You know,
bosses
Pseudo
that.
was a great segue.
Yeah, pseudo segue. She's definitely one of those bosses where when you first come across her, she's absolute pain. She's absolute pain.
Oh, definitely.
But when
Yeah, she
Oh, go ahead.
she can be a tough customer. Like, even in phase 1, she can still be a tough customer.
Yeah, and all of her attacks
Unless-
inflict you with slow, which is horrible at that point in the game, because if you've gone through the parking deck area, you've gotten this Y-hander with 100% block, right? And then you get to her, and she does have a couple of unblockables, and you're just completely slowed all the time if you're actually punished for using that weapon in that area. So I think it was a pretty creative design choice to show people that, like, hey, maybe you can block 100% of things, but you can't like block slow. And so, oh man, what do you do now if you're slowed all the time and you don't have EO yet with Panacea's Essence to get rid of it? So, uh, what do you do?
Yep. You grab up the Impaler. It's already +3. It's quick, it's relatively lightweight, and you're good to go.
But it
So,
does pierce
Good old
damage,
slimy stripper.
and so
Mm-hmm.
she's got a 25% resist to pierce, and so it's really bad to continue doing pierce damage because you'll actually do less than if you grab up something like the Queenslayer Greatsword or even the Juggernaut Sledgehammer. Even though you can be normal mobility with those, they'll be your optimal choices for damage. And especially if you
I
go
was
with
thinking
like,
of it.
go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just thinking of it from a different perspective, going for trying to apply status effects to her. She's quite weak to both stun and poison, so both of those are good options.
Excellent
So that you could
options.
just especially stun. She's very weak to stun, so that's like it's if you want to make short work of her, you can just stun her over and over and over and over again. Plus, she's got pretty poor balance, so
Oh yes.
just whacking her over and over and over and over again with a halberd will stagger her pretty reliably. But crush is definitely the way to go.
It's unfortunate that she does gain resistances in phase 2. It does mitigate some of her weaknesses, but if you're looking for, what is she weak to? She doesn't have any minus. And she has no negative resistances, so you can't like abuse Merciless Reaper or something like that to her, because you do get Merciless Reaper from Assassin, which is in the Howling Pit there that you pick up. So you might be thinking, oh, this would be a great choice, unless you're going for like Pierce things, Pierce gifts only. Merciless Reaper is pretty useless versus her, unfortunately, but
Huh.
you can go for basically Crush any element you want in phase 1, and in phase 2 she only gets a 10% fire resist, and so you can still go for Blood, Ice, and Lightning, which is awesome. Because you have Sanguine Roar, and you'll get well, you can use Blazing Roar, but it'll have a 10% reduction, well, kind of a zero point 0.9 times 0.9, which is like 0.81, so it's like a 19% reduction because of her fire and crush resistances in phase 2. So it's still an okay option, but Sanguine Roar is the best you can hope for.
So let's talk about attacks. You can actually bait her to repeat her overhead chop in phase 1. All you got to do is sidestep left.
And keep a
once
good
she gets
distance.
started, you can. Yeah, you got to be right at the tip of her stripper pole whenever she slams it down. She can reach a little bit further than you expect because she can like zip forward like 3 to 5 meters whenever she slams it down. But if you're already within her range, you can bait her into going around again and again and again and again and again. In fact, I was exploiting that earlier today to make phase 1 much easier. The other attack she could do is she could do the foot stomp. She'll slam her stripper pole down. Or she will do 2 variations of combos, but you can just dodge to the left and then dodge back to get away from either of those 2 combo attacks. Phase 2 is a little bit messier, though. That's where it starts getting really nutty.
Yeah,
She
phase
starts
1
throwing
is
in insta-kill slides.
phase 1 is great to learn that moveset because everything that she does in phase 1, she adds a move after it. Like when she does the pole slam, where the hilt of the pole goes straight into the ground. In phase 2, she does that same move, but has a follow-up to it. She also, when she does the jump in the air off of the pole, in phase 2, she has a follow-up off of it. So learning the phase 1 moves is really important because phase 2 does the same move and then a follow-up. So make sure you watch her tells and her performance, because then in phase 2 you'll face the same thing with the slides. We're all familiar with the slides, I think. But everything gets expanded.
Mm.
What'd you say, Pseudo? Sorry.
I was just agreeing. I was
Oh,
just going,
okay.
uh-huh,
Oh,
uh-huh,
okay.
yep,
Sorry.
yep,
Sorry, I
yep,
thought you were saying
uh-huh.
something. Uh, yeah, but phase 2 is when things get crazy. You're right. The slides are just absolutely brutal. I believe they're unblockable, and
Yep.
and they'll knock you down, and they'll pretty much kill you instantaneously. Uh, with
Oh yeah, at level 1, it is an insta kill.
Well, yeah, level 1. Everything's like a insta kill after. Mm, yeah, maybe after the trenches, everything's like a one-hit kill almost. I guess it depends on your blood veil, but it's pretty brutal.
And
She's
yeah,
horrible.
even with Iron Will and everything,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
it's still an insta kill.
And if you don't have any slow resistance, I mean, you can be slowed immediately, hitting one of her bubbles or
Oh yeah.
whatever. Ugh,
Oh yeah.
it's a mess. It's a complete mess. So, you actually taught me this. The bubbles you pop with the Pierce gifts on her, and you're able to and when she does the pole spin, you're able to actually pop all the incoming the bubbles, and so it's a great use of daggers if you have them, or Sonic Arrow, or anything else like that.
Actually, if you if you go the intended route and pick up the Darkseeker Blood Code and get Venom Trap, the lingering hitbox from that can delete quite a few of those little bubbles, especially if you put it down right next to her and then run away. The first bubble will pop it, and the Venom Trap will shatter that bubble, and then the next 2 or 3 that come by will also get shattered, so you only really have to dodge a handful of them. And there is a trick to that, besides just making distance. They will track you. They'll track your movement and actually lead the shot. Like she'll lead her shot. So the trick is you dodge one way, then the other way, and then you pause and wait to see if you should go back or if you should keep going the same direction. Because you can throw it off. It takes a little bit of practice, but that's the easiest way to get rid of the stripper pole dance routine with all those water orbs.
Yeah, and if you can lead her into a corner and then run to the opposite corner, that's
Oh yeah, virtually nothing will get you.
That's usually
Virtually
my
nothing
tactic.
will get you then.
But what were your first impressions when you saw her hop out of the water? Were you expecting something like that, or were you not expecting that kind of an introduction?
I certainly was not expecting the saucy leg cutting through the water without any feet. That's certainly not what I was expecting.
DeathKiller, how about you?
I was like, what's this? Some kind of fin? Some fin of a fish creature? Nope, it's a stripper. It's always a stripper.
Always?
Always. That's how they get you.
Oh, is it how they get you? Oh man. Yeah, that was definitely not the one thing I was expecting for sure when she jumped out of the water. I was like, wait a minute. What is this backflip thing? And we're walking in the water, so where did she actually come from? Did she like materialize like through the floor or something, or there was a manhole cover that or something that she opened up and sort of swam? I don't even know. But it was quite the intro. When you see it the first time, you're like, what are we expecting? Is this going to be something like Star Wars tentacles or something? And then nope, it's a pole dance. But yeah, she's definitely one of those bosses that if you don't learn her move set, she's absolutely punishing. But you can dodge these slides easy enough. You can either dodge into her or you can dodge sideways. Either one of them are good. Just don't dodge backwards. On all of her stuff, you typically don't want to dodge backwards on almost anything. the leg sweep, when she does a full slide, and then she does one slide and then the leg sweep. If you dodge backwards on that, sometimes you can get hit by the splashes of water. I guess they're lethal water splashes somehow, and those are the ones you want to watch out for.
They're infused with her goop. By the way, you can parry her. The
Yes.
the 3-hit and 2-hit the 3-hit combos, you can parry those. They both have the same starting attack. In fact, with the final heavy swing of the slower combo, you can parry that heavy swing. In fact, she'll even do that heavy swing at the end of some of the slides. So yeah, you can parry that one if you're extra crazy, but it is also a one-hit kill if you're not careful.
High risk, high
It does
reward,
a lot
right?
of damage. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you do get Ichor
best-
back from parries, so that's very good.
Yep. It also stuns her for a brief moment. Most importantly, though, I think the main thing you learn with Slimy Stripper is when is it safe to heal. That's how you beat her. In phase 1, if you heal after she casts the ground blast, that's one of the safest times. If you can bait her into the long combo where she does 3 horizontal swings, where the third one comes out really, really slow, you can heal in that. In phase 2, the best time is after the 2 slides. Don't automatically assume that just because she stopped moving, she's not going to slide again.
Yes.
So if she does a slide, spins on her pole, and then slides at you again, safe to heal.
Yep.
And of course, after you make distance on the stripper pole routine, you got to make distance first.
Yes, yes, you do. DeathKiller, any last thoughts here on the Executioner?
A pretty hot take. I found the Howling Pit way harder than the actual boss.
No, that's a perfectly reasonable take.
So traveling the Howling Pit was tedious in of itself. I did not being slowed by any of the water. I did not like traversing it at all. Finding the cores, the messages, the missiles, they were not fun. And the missile where you finally meet Mia and get the tree, the stuff like that. I was wandering there for hours because I did not know where to go. Turns out there was a path just ahead where it's like kind of blends in, so you can't see it unless you go forward. So I just assumed it was a dead end. Oh, okay, I had to find somewhere else to go. And then I looked up and walked through. Admittedly, I didn't like it, but I had to. And then I found where I had to go. And then every time I died to our beautiful Hatsuru Miku stripper, the path I gave to her was so drawn out.
Yeah.
It was not even funny. And then oh my god. I forgot but the enemy with the blue spikes on them, hated it. Did not enjoy them. Fighting them was not fun. Getting to invading Executioner was not fun. I did not enjoy it. The boss himself, it was okay. For the most part, it was just getting used to her movesets. It was definitely very brutal at first.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the dance slide. It's always the slide.
Did you play
really
through
don't
the
like
game
how they decided
more than
to-
once, or did you stop at one playthrough?
I played, I think, 4 playthroughs of the game.
Oh, okay. So on the successive playthroughs, did she get easier, or was it still just as pain?
She was pretty much a cakewalk for like the second and onwards.
Yeah, I think so. As soon as you have a big toolbox with a good set of options available, she kind of dwindles away into nothingness. But your first playthrough, man, she is tough because you don't really know how high levels. What? Sorry?
I saw the cutscene of where you finally get introduced to her, And I wasn't like, oh god, it's a boss that I have to fight again. It was, oh my god, it's a boss with the stripping pole.
Yeah, I really don't like how they weaponized my Google search history. That's not cool, game. It's not cool at all.
You're good at it too, though.
Yeah, yeah. You've got more challenges coming your way. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
I bet he does. He has a whole backlog of challenges that he's just itching to go to. Well, I wouldn't say itching, but dreading to go to.
Yeah. Dreading is much more appropriate.
I'm itching.
Dreading
I
is
want to
much
see
more
'em.
appropriate.
I want to see all those challenges.
I'll get to them. I'll get to them.
I know.
Okay. So
If you stop dying, that
after.
is.
Oh, what's that?
If you stop dying, that is. Maybe we'll get to it.
He can't stop me from dying. Nobody can stop me from dying in Code Vein.
Every death is a
As
new
much
sub.
as we want to. Dear God.
No.
I like that dude.
No. No. No.
Loading up the alt accounts.
You know what? I'm not friends with any of you anymore.
That's okay.
I'm not friends with any of you.
You can be employed with not your friends.
Moving on. Move.
Argent Wolf
Oh,
Berserker.
jeez. No. The cathedral itself is a boss.
Getting through in the first.
Some of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took me 4 hours to get through there.
Oh, really?
The very first time, part 1 and part 2, took me 4 hours to get through, including the boss fight with Berserker.
Oh, wow. Yeah, see, I'm such a stickler for being a 100% map completion that was more of a driving force for me as to what I was doing rather than where am I actually supposed to go. I was like, oh, here's a missile, good. Okay, where's the next missile? There it is over there. How do I get over there? Like that was my driving force, was going, because I had to get 100% map completion for everywhere. Otherwise, I felt like I wasn't doing something correctly, and so that helped a lot take the pain out of it, because I was more focused on where the missiles are rather than where I was actually supposed to go and what I was doing.
No. Any discussion about the cathedral, though, we have to talk about the pit. The cathedral pit. It's the infamous noob trap. There's a vivifier sitting on the top of the staircase, and it's kind of blind, and you will fall in if you don't have your wits about you.
And it's like
I fell in it 3 times.
Completely invisible. It's like completely invisible until you fall down it, and then you're like, wait, what just happened? What was that? The end of the staircase?
Yep.
I wish I could somehow go back in time and like play it again blind with not knowing anything, and it's unfortunate that can never happen again. But
not me. I kind of enjoy just breezing through there, knowing where I'm supposed to go.
Oh yeah. That's what I'm hoping for Code Vein 2, though, right? Is that we get a little more of those twisty, windy, crazy places, because everybody hates them, but then after you play through it once or twice or 10 times or 50 times, it becomes like a super breeze.
Mm-hmm.
God, not for me. I hope we never get this again.
Don't you like to put on the Lost Woods music from Super Mario RPG?
You know, I definitely do, but in the end, that's probably the only thing that keeps me going, is that I have to get through this before it loops. I did not like Cathedral. The only part I liked about it is that it resembled Enter Londo a little bit, but for the most part, I hate it. I don't like going in it. I don't like any part of it, actually. The enemies they're okay, but God, the pathways that you had to like find, it was either a leap of faith or if you're gonna make it or not. The keys, the keys. I got one of the keys before my playthrough. It took me a fat minute just to find it, only to find out that I had it. I just needed to actually go to the door.
I think I know which one. I think I know which one you're talking about.
My map was looking like Pseudo's map during Beta Fight.
It was just coated in white dots everywhere.
Yeah, I
Yikes.
didn't enjoy the cathedral my first time. I was like, this is pretty bad. And then I started going for marks of honor, and I was like, well, I guess I got to go through the game again. And then I started
I
getting
didn't
through it,
enjoy it for my second, third, or fourth playtime.
and then it started to grow on me actually. Uh, but
It's only
yeah,
okay to me.
yeah, I think one place like that in a run is completely fine. If they have more than one, I think it'll be like really frustrating. And people would stop playing, but definitely one area like that is kind of acceptable, I think. Especially because of how Aurora was like the first successor you fight. And she's really, really, really doing her best to try and defend her relic. And I feel like the other successors didn't take it as seriously.
Yeah, they didn't make an entire labyrinth.
Yeah. I mean, getting to Nicola is literally like a couple of runs around and you're there. I mean, it's pretty short, actually. But anyways, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's
That's right.
let's
That's right. We still got the Argent with Berserker.
So halfway through the cathedral, you're met with a very large boss that is kind of a boss, but he's like a mini boss, but he's still required, and you do get the fog gates on either side of him. So the Argent Wolf Berserker is he's strong to all types of damage, and in phase two, or in phase one, he's got a 25% resist to all of your physical attacks, and he's got a 50% damage resist in phase two for all of your physical attacks. So if you were doing gifts only, Merciless Reaper gifts, this is the time for that thing to shine because it will do very, very, very good work against him. He hits like a truck, he moves like a truck, and the dude is very, very intimidating in a whole lot of ways. But Pseudo, you know what I'm gonna say.
You can cheese him. You can make sweet stinky cheese out of him. Just backstab cheese him to death.
Yeah, backstabs are amazing, and you don't actually know that unless by accident, sort of, you come across it because
Hmm.
there's nothing indicating that he's a boss that you can backstab because most all the bosses you've got up to this point in time you can't backstab. And so the funny thing is that he's got a backstab weak point, and so knowing that it only happens when you know it, and it's such a weird thing about him. But once you find it out, oh my goodness, it is all
Yep.
over.
Yep. That's also about the same time you start to learn that backstabs are kind of funky in Code Vein. Um, the easiest trick that I learned is you want to put your character's left hand at the center of the enemy's back. So you want to be ever so slightly to the right hand side of the enemy whenever you try to go for a backstab. And then again, there are just some really funky angles whenever an enemy is like twisting and turning while they're doing their attack animations. What the model of the enemy, what actually counts as their back, might not even look at like their back at all. The fat ladies are particularly infamous for this. You can backstab them from the side, for example.
Yeah, and when the Berserker does his baseball bat swings in phase two, you want to be more towards his left leg when he twists his body, and that's really important to understand because if you're in the back or anywhere else, you just won't. You'll just keep hitting him, and you'll miss that backstab spot. And it's whenever he's twisting, if you're towards his left leg, then you'll get the backstab. But if he's standing straight, you want to be more towards his right leg, which what why in the world is that Vayne? But that is Vayne, and that's how it be. It's just one of those
Yeah.
quirks of you know how the I don't know if it's a box or a zone or a cone or something like that of that area where you can activate the backstab, but it's important to know that on him.
Yeah. Yeah, one more important thing, if you are having troubles getting a backstab, try stacking up as much stun as you possibly can. He is incredibly weak to stun and virtually immune to everything else. So if you can get him, if you can inflict stun on him and your partner doesn't stagger him out of it, you have a few quick seconds to get positioned perfectly for a backstab, so you can resume the backstab cheese.
Yes. And that is the only, or that is one of the only um, debuffs that you can do on him is stun, and so you might as well take advantage of it while you can. Unfortunately, you can't poison him, which is horrible, because
he
that
is
would
very
be so
immune to
wonderful.
poison it. Yeah, you're kidding. No kidding. You're. Oh, there's actually something that Owen taught me. You can actually cancel the buff in phase 2. You can't cancel the resistance buff, but you can cancel his change in moveset if you do a frame perfect backstab on him.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Right when he's about to change. Mm-hmm. It's very, very weird. But he's not the only boss that is like that, though.
you mean the
you can mess with the phases of another boss. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Your favorite Bugman.
The changeling Bugman.
Yeah.
He's the worst. As much as we harped on how great backstabs are, it's kind of not a great idea to go for launch attacks just because of how beefy he is.
Yeah, you have to hit him like right in the face in the front for all weapons. But if you have like heavy weapons like the two-handed swords and stuff, then you can launch him from different angles. But you have to have like a certain weight limit in order to actually launch him. But in the most part, you got to hit him in the face when you're trying to launch. Otherwise, it just won't work. Like if you're running a bayonet or something like that, you have to get him from the front, which is hard to do because typically he'll just slap you in the face.
Yeah. Scrambled here. Most importantly, he dummy thick. Yes.
He is a big boy.
He do make that booty jiggle. That's very true.
Oh man. Yeah, and the Berserker does have a pretty bad run back. You got 4 golden warriors to deal with and 2 monkeys, which the monkeys are the worst part of that, not the golden warriors.
No, not terribly. You can use a IV drain attack and knock them off the ledge before they even cause any issues. They're also weak to. They're also weak to blood and fire, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So just a quick roar will take them out.
Like Fus Roda?
But yes. Well, no.
Oh.
I mean, Blazing Roar or Sanguine Roar or even Freezing Roar. All the roar spells do absurd amounts of damage.
Yeah,
and the monkeys don't have a whole lot of HP. No,
they don't. No, they don't. Okay. Well, the Berserker's he's definitely a fun one. But he's a very, very good knowledge check as well, because typically in the cathedral all the enemies are strong to blood, and then you get up to the Berserker and he is got a 0% resist to blood, and so that's the kind of a weird thing that you're told that blood is bad, and then you get to him and blood is now all of a sudden the best thing you could be doing. So they like
it immediately goes back to being garbage.
Yep. They do love messing around with you to make you switch and change, which I'm fine with that. I like it that they force you to change the blood codes and switch things up. It's really, really good.
Man, I just took a look at the time.
Yeah, we're
let's
not,
go on Queen's Night.
We're not making it very, very far, but at least we'll probably have a second episode on this after we get maybe halfway through here, and then we'll see where we get. But yeah, so the Queen's Night is next. Fortunately, it's our blood code that we get, and the Queen's Knight is in our memories. Because why? Jack always remembers Operation Queenslayer, so we are forced to remember Operation Queenslayer as well.
Well, we had a helping
Um,
hand from a vestige core that totally looks like something that's not going to drag you into a whole brand new area before you get a chance to touch the checkpoint.
Right, right. It is nice, though, that it kind of changes it up right in the middle of the cathedral. It's like, okay, you've had enough of this place. Here,
Yeah.
go to another place if you want.
Yeah, true. Believe it or not, you can actually change whether Jack accompanies you or not, depending on if you have a partner following you around when you first touch that. If you touch the vestige core and get transported to the memories and you decide, man, Jack is dumb, I want to go solo, you can just teleport back to the cathedral, dismiss whichever partner is traveling with you, and go back through that same vestige. And there you go. Now you get to play through it without Jack. Or
And
the reverse is true.
and
If
why
you
is it that
want
way?
Jack,
Who knows?
I don't know. I guess it's because Jack would be an otherwise forced companion, and for people who like to do challenge runs, having a forced companion sucks. Like, I didn't realize you could dismiss Oliver for the longest time, so I have to go through and redo a lot of challenge runs. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm not going to redo a lot of challenge runs. Let's be real. Some of those really, really sucked.
Yeah, I can't. I
But
think about it
anyways.
myself, and I'm like, do I want to go back and do any of my challenges that I've done? No, not really.
We gotta talk about Queen's Knight, the eponymous guardian of the Queen Slayer blood code. There's two phases. Queen's Knight can be parried. No real resistances to ice, lightning, or fire. Very strong against blood. Don't use blood. Just
Nope.
don't use blood.
Don't do it at all. It's bad for your health. It's good for him, but bad for you. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
if you like doing no damage.
Yeah, he's got a 20% resist, which means that most of your stuff, all the buffs and stuff, will kind of all trail off in the beginning, and so that really inhibits your actual usefulness for sure. But yeah,
He's
fire,
actually,
ice, and
it's
lightning.
funny you mention it. Yeah. Right. Wait, does it? No, he's immune to inhibit. I was about to say try to use inhibit on him. No, he's immune to inhibit. He's weak to slow and about moderate for stun and poison. I actually like to poison him because, well, he can start jumping around in phase 2, and if you're just gonna sit there and dodge, waiting for an opportunity to attack him again, you might as well just do damage over time. But he's not specifically weak to poison.
No.
He's got about moderate.
Yeah, and it is good to go for that though, because I mean you get a free 15% of his health after he's poisoned, and sometimes that can be all it needs to be. Like you can die and the boss can be poisoned, and they can chip out while you're in your death animation, and then you can come back from it. So it's definitely worth it to go for. Absolutely.
It's really rare. Do not bank on the boss dying before you do.
No,
but it does happen.
But it can be a clutch run.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
He does have a couple of unblockables, which are really hard to understand when they're unblockable. But his shield or his sword dash across the arena, it has an unblockable zone, but the further away he gets, about halfway into his dash, it's all of a sudden blockable, and it does have an AoE around the back of it. So if you are to his back or to his side as soon as he starts the dash, he will kill you basically without even being looking towards you. So that's really something you need to watch for. Did you have something you wanted to add there, Pseudo?
No, just the shield bash is unblockable. Since we're on the topic of unblockable moves, the shield bash is the third hit in his 1-2-3 combo. However, Queen's Knight's not that simple. He can just pull out that shield bash whenever he feels like it.
Yes.
So you need to stay on your guard. However, the shield bash is going to be telegraphed because he will hold his sword like perpendicular to the ground and then take a couple of steps forward and then punch with the shield. So you just gotta wait. You just gotta keep your eyes peeled for those 2 quick steps and dodge to the left. That's honestly the easiest way to make sure you avoid his attacks is just sidestep left and dodge to the left. It's real easy. It's like half a cha-cha slide. It's super easy.
The thing I always get slammed by is his double spin, and it does have a frame perfect dodge in between. There's actually 2 attacks that happen when you block. You can hear it. It goes ching ching, and if you can dodge in between those 2 attacks, you can get away from his spin attack. But man, I sometimes get it, and I rarely. When I do, it feels good, but most of the time I'm always getting slapped by it, and it does a ton of damage. The nice thing is that all of his attacks do blood damage,